I'm a big believer in having a co-founder, and I think the balance of what me and her have, we have completely different skill sets, but also like ultimate trust in each other that, Zoe, crack on. Like, I don't need to know really, bounce stuff off me, but I don't need to know exactly what you're doing. Just crack on. I got complete trust.
Hey everyone, welcome to Hack to the Future with Kyle Roof. I am Kyle Roof, and today I'm very excited. I have Jack Shepard, who is the co-founder of The Social Shepherd. Jack, thanks for being here.
Lovely to be here as well. Thanks, Kyle.
Jack, first of all, you get bonus points for a good pun. The Social Shepherd. That is a fantastic name. when you were putting the agency name together, like how many did you go through, or did you just immediately land on The Social Shepherd?
I never want people to think that I named it after myself, even though it is after my surname. My wife, who's my co-founder, I shared with you earlier, she actually came up with it because her surname was Stevenson, and she was like, the Social Stevenson doesn't have the same ring to it.
Nah, doesn't.
No.
The Social Stevenson.
She accepted it.
There, would it?
And I said in my wedding speech, I said, you've planned to have my surname all those years anyway, so one day you could actually be a shepherd too. So it worked out for her as well.
And she kept you after that one.
Yes. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. How long have you been married, by the way?
Only since August.
Only since August.
Yeah,
oh wow! Because so your I guess now wife is the co-founder in your company. Did you think that relationships were too easy, and you just had to add in one thing to the mix?
More complex. To be fair, I'm a big believer in having a co-founder, and I think the balance of what me and her have, we have completely different skill sets, but also like ultimate trust in each other that, Zoe, crack on. Like, I don't need to know really, bounce stuff off me, but I don't need to know exactly what you're doing. Just crack on. I got complete trust, and like vice versa. So actually, I think it's been like our almost superpower over the last 6 years has been that balance of both of us, to be fair.
What do you do in the situation where you have to yell at her? Or she has to yell at you?
I'm a very calm person. I'm a very calm person. I'm not a confrontational person at all. So arguments never happen.
So what you're saying is you delegate to somebody else to tell her? Or does she delegate to somebody else to give you a message?
No, honestly, it works. It works great. And I think that's been the number one thing for me in terms of like the success of what we've been able to build is that, and having a co-founder, whether it was her or maybe someone else. I don't think I necessarily would have got to where it is today on my own.
I would agree. I also have a co-founder, and now we have a third business partner as well. And when we started the company, myself and my business partner Andy, we kind of naturally fell into our roles of Andy being on the operations side and the marketing side, and then myself on more of the product lead side. And more of like the face of the company. Did you have something similar where you just kind of naturally fit into the roles that were, kind of
similar-ish,
like got the best out of you and the best out of her?
Yeah, I've historically been more like the growth sides in marketing, new biz, and biz development. And then Zoe's very good at sort of like the social as a craft, the creative side, and also very strong operationally, like from a leader perspective as well, and guiding and nurturing the team.
So the Social Shepherd is a social first digital marketing agency. Is that a fair?
That's right.
Way to?
Yeah.
What kind of prompted that angle, if you will, of we're putting this agency together, and was it always that way? I mean, obviously, social is in the name, so I have a feeling. Yeah, that was the direction you're going from the start, but kind of how did that all come together?
Yeah, so previous to the agency, going back from 2013 to 2017, I had an events business, and I started that when I was 21, finished when I was sort of like 25-ish, and through having to sell tickets, we printed loads of I remember in the early days we printed loads of flyers, and then we were also doing marketing on Facebook and Facebook, even Facebook groups, and building communities and building social pages. And then after the end of the event, we had sold it out, and we still had all the flyers that we never once distributed any of them because like social had done so well. So throughout those years, I think I really learned how to navigate social, how to drive traffic, build hype, build anticipation, build demand for a product, which my product at that time obviously was this sort of event ticket. And then that translated into the first few clients that ended up being venues and bars and nightclubs. But very much, we always set out to be a social agency, but I think most agency owners can maybe attest to this as well. It was very scrappy in the early days. I built Shopify websites for brands because they just asked for it, and we did email marketing because, you just need to make the cash to pay yourself and live, basically. And that was very much the start for like the first 12 months was just scrappy. We do anything. Social is our focus, but if someone's willing to pay us, I will find a way, basically, in those early days.
Speaking of those early days, I remember with my partner, with my wife, I had a lot of support in that. I was like, I've got this weird idea where I'm going to open up an agency. What are you going to sell exactly? I don't know. And the only way to see what I do is you have to look through this magic window and go online to see any work that I may or may not have done. When you who came up with the idea first? Like, let's do this agency, and then was everybody immediately on board?
Zoe had always said to me, like, after I finished that event stuff and wanted to move on from that, she was always like sort of pushing that, like, I really think you should start, because she had worked in agencies herself. After graduating uni, she worked in 2 different agencies. So she knew that sort of like loose, very junior, I guess. She was only 21, 22, 23, but understood that business model and was like, you know, Social Jack, why don't you just start an agency? So I had a few clients as, freelance clients effectively at the beginning, just like that happened organically. And then while she was working that agency, she picked up a few freelance clients on the side. And then we were like, well, we were together at that point already. So we're like, let's join together and try and make something of this.
Very, very cool. Within the social side of things, when you're putting a campaign together, or say a 6-month sprint, something like that, is it very like funnel based? When you're kind of looking at, like, we've got this product and we want to do kind of certain levels of promotion to get people to a particular place? Or how does that kind of go, or how does a typical project look as you're putting something together?
I think it can depend on how we're supporting with them on social. Naturally, from like a paid social perspective, it definitely is more, it follows probably more of a traditional funnel sort of structure in terms of how we think about it. Paid advertising is changing lots anyway. And whereas before it was even more so a funnel structure, now with, every social platform, search, everything coming out with these very automated campaign types. Even, we did a session the other day in the office about Pinterest's new, Advantage plus shopping campaign equivalent on Pinterest, and it can do AI generated assets for you to run the ads, and then in terms of how it distributes that, it's very like machine learning basis. So the traditional funnels definitely changed in that sense from a paid perspective. I guess then looking at more of the organic social side, we still think of it in terms of a funnel, and the different formats of content that you can use, stories, reels, static posts, carousels, across YouTube Shorts, Snapchat, Twitter. We think about each piece of content to ensure it has a purpose, and then we would, look at it across, is this more of a top of funnel piece of content that actually is a bit more, mass market, brand awareness driven piece of creative that's not necessarily going to convert anyone, but it's at least going to introduce the brand to those people.
Hmm.
And then we might produce a piece of content that is more educational, which we might consider sort of more middle of funnel and sort of nurturing that and building trust with that audience. And then you might have an Instagram story that is, directing site traffic to the site on more of an offer-based piece of content. So there's definitely like that sort of way of thinking about it. We still consider.
What kind of KPIs do you talk about with clients when you're doing, say, like a top or middle of the funnel? Is it impressions? Is it some sort of share of voice KPI? How do you put that together?
Yeah, it definitely swings in the more of like follower growth, awareness, video views to help us build that sort of middle of funnel audience. When that's on that paid retargeting perspective, we want to bring in those, lots of views to, bring them down and nurture them further. That's definitely something we track at top of funnel. But we do also track like social sentiment across social for our clients as well, and how people are also seeing that piece of content and then talking about that brand, even across like channels like Reddit or, Twitter. How are they communicating about that and what's their perception of that brand as well?
Very cool. So you've had phenomenal growth. Your agency is almost 7 years, I think, old.
Yeah,
now.
6. It was 6 in September. Yeah.
Okay. 6 and a hook. 6 and a hook.
Yeah.
And in that time, I believe you've taken on 70 employees. That is a lot of people to manage. Do you think, is it that the social side of things is very human intensive when you're putting these types of things together, that you need a large staff to handle these types of projects?
Yeah. Like I know other agencies, maybe not social, but in other verticals of digital, might go a lot more productized in how they think about their service. Unfortunately, social is definitely cannot be productized, or at least how we position and sell it, because every client
are most things very bespoke?
It is very bespoke, in terms of the strategy, the output required, the channels, the type of creative we're producing, the way we're talking about that, the tone of voice of that brand. There's so many different considerations when doing it. I think naturally still there might be a few brands that we do a very similar thing for. Like we might be more of their content production social partner, and they have a social team in house, but they actually come to us for, that short form video content. So the scope of work might look very similar, but in terms of the way of like thinking, then is pretty bespoke to then the actual final output and delivery.
Okay, now we're at part of the show. We're going to play Marry, Shag, Kill. Pinterest, Instagram, Twitter. Marry, Shag, Kill.
Marry. So it's Pinterest, Twitter, and what was the other one? Sorry. Instagram. Ooh. I kind of want to, in a weird kind of way, shag Twitter. Because it's just absolute chaos. I have a soft spot for both Instagram and Pinterest, but
you're killing one of them.
I'll kill Instagram and marry Pinterest.
Oh,
I don't know why. Yeah.
That's what we're going. So, like, if you had to do the long-term relationship, it would be with Pinterest.
Pinterest.
Okay.
I feel like it's got that sort of like slightly softer touch to it.
I think that's good intel.
Yeah.
Right on. You have an amazing client list. When I was going through looking at your site, some of the companies that you've worked for are very impressive. What was the first company that you could tell your parents and they're like, oh, they knew that company?
It would be Premier Inn, which people in the UK would, it's a household name type of thing. Maybe not so much anywhere else.
The hotel company.
Hotel chain, that hundreds of sites across the UK.
I've stayed at a few.
public. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, publicly traded company.
I got trapped in one the day the UK closed for COVID.
Okay, wow, that's an
We got really.
experience. Yeah,
It was actually a pretty nutty time. I was flying into the UK, and the US closed their border while I was in the air, and then things were closing, and then I got stuck at a Premier Inn because it was the only one that would take me, because a lot of places wouldn't take me because I didn't have a UK passport.
wow.
And
Okay,
I have a distinct memory of running to the McDonald's because the McDonald's was going to close. And then there was an off license right next to the McDonald's. So I think I got 40 chicken nuggets and then like a bottle of Southern Comfort, and then went back to the Premier Inn and had a
two
pretty
share
interesting
boxes.
had a pretty interesting 3 days.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm here
That's
for a
my
while, so,
that's
yeah.
my experience with Premier Inn.
We call it the Purple Palace here at the Social Shepherd.
Have you ever been kind of starstruck by a particular brand? Like, I can't believe we're working with these people. This is such a household name type brand, or such a thing that, like, this is really impressive.
I think I probably get that quite a lot, to be honest. Because we've come from a place in the early days of literally doing, the equivalent of $500 retainers to helping anyone and everyone. I know some agency owners have been in the industry for 10, 20 years. They've worked in agencies the whole life. They've built huge connections, and their first client is someone massive, and they've worked with massive clients already. But I think I just, I get excited every day, basically, by who's coming in the door. And I don't think it's always necessarily the name. Sometimes it's also like the challenge and what they're looking to achieve that gets me like super excited, and what we can achieve with them on that journey.
Oh, very cool. I like that a lot. As you've grown within the UK, you've now branched out and you're growing in the US as well. If you want to do like a multinational agency like that, what was kind of the first step to get that ball rolling in order to get a presence, I guess, in the US to get things established?
Yeah, so we're very fortunate in that perspective. One of the clients that we have, that we're their European social agency, we now work with them in the US, and that was sort of that was our client that enabled us to launch there. And that came off the back of just, consistent great work with their European team. Zoe, my co-founder, reached out to the procurement team there that she'd built a relationship with and said, look, we actually have one team member that's actually moving to the US. It kind of happened all at the same time. And she said, look, we'd love to see if there's any opportunity to help you guys in the US. And they were like, good timing, because there is, basically. So that enabled us to, get a footing, build a starting team, like a founding team out in New York. And then from there, we've gone on to win a few other clients since then, and continuously sort of pitching for new pieces of work and retainers out there. So yeah, it's happened very sort of organically, which is great, because I know comparably, New York probably to the rest of the US is expensive, but compared to the UK, again, in terms of like salary, is pretty mind-boggling. We've had to shift our perception of what a dollar or a pound means. Like, it's just like probably double, a retainer size just bigger. And you can't get like daunted by that perspective. You kind of have to go in with confidence, going, this is what it costs, so this is how it works. Yeah.
Are there companies that are looking for an agency that just specializes in social? Like they're really looking for something that's niching down into that, or do you have to
100%.
pitch that a little bit, like, we focus on this so we don't get distracted by the other stuff?
100%. It's like they are just purely looking for a social agency, and that's like, I guess, somewhat of a competitive advantage for us.
Yeah.
Again, if we pitch against a full service digital agency, we will 90% chance win. against that, because we can go in, we're social specialists. This is all we do. This is what we love.
Yeah.
This is what we're passionate about. This is why team members join our team as well, because a lot of them have actually come from other digital agencies that have a small social team and aren't really learning. They want to learn. So because we're so engrossed in it, that learning takes place faster and ultimately delivers better outcomes for clients as well. So, yeah.
And it's got to be a lot more fun to think about. Like, you know,
Yeah.
my background is in an SEO agency, and that
Yeah.
could get pretty boring pretty quick.
I love SEO. I love
I do
SEO.
too. I do too. But it's got to be a lot more
It's my
fun
guilty
putting
pleasure.
like
Yeah.
a social campaign together. It's got to be a lot more fun. Just
Yeah.
in the creative
Especially if
outlet
you're
of it.
like, yeah, a creative individual for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh. Can you do you have a crystal ball for the future? 2024 was a tough year for a lot of SEO agencies, and like the affiliate market got smacked. That hurt a lot of providers who were providing to affiliate. I think the economy was in a weird spot, and so I think some budgets were tightened, and that hurt agencies as well. Did you feel the same thing on the social
Yeah, I'd say
side?
so.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd say so. I think it's just like uncertainty.
yeah,
It pauses decision making. They know they still want to do it, and it will happen at some point. But I think people just need an answer either way. It's like TikTok at the moment. Will it get banned? Won't it get banned?
I'm
You know,
downloading all the videos I can
exactly. Like
to save them.
it's that's, and I think what we've seen in the US in terms of lead volume, we're getting it through. We're still getting loads through, but I'd say it's ever so slightly halted, just because the uncertainty of like, are we going to be investing in TikTok? Are we not? And then that's like pausing their whole decision making across like
Sure,
social as a
sure.
whole.
I can see that.
And then we obviously had, last year elections in both the UK, US, which caused, and then there was the whole budget that they do in the UK as well, and changing taxes and things like that. So businesses, are very cautious until they have an answer one way or the other, and then they can move forward with confidence. But I feel
I was
2025 will turn a bit of a corner.
I was really
I'm
hoping you were going to go the other way and say like, nah, we're not worried about updates.
right.
Things are great over here on the social side.
Yeah, we were still able to grow like 30% year on year,
Oh, that's excellent.
which
That's
is
excellent.
which we're happy with. But we were anticipating more than that. And we had like one client go into administration. We had another client that we won, and then people got made redundant the day after, including our point of contact. So it wasn't. It was a bit tricky. It was tricky for that reason as well. Yeah,
It
but it's
costs
all
a lot
looking.
of money to pitch.
Yeah.
Like, like that's
Oh my
not
god.
that's not a cheap thing to be like, oh well. That
It's and
sucks.
it's the senior team members who do it, which costs more. They're spending a
Yeah.
huge amount of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a massive cost to the business. Yeah,
I'm seeing though. I think a lot of agencies that I talked to at the end of 2024 kind of saw a turnaround. I'm a bit removed from the agency
yeah,
stuff right now, but I'm seeing things more from the software side. There was an uptick, and I think that's going to continue. Do you think 2025 is going to be all right?
yeah. I'm very optimistic about 2025. We've already delivered like 4 or 5 pitches in January already,
Oh wow,
and that's from
that's a
like starting in December, and then
sure.
we've got 2 more that we're delivering next week, as well as pitching one. So we're doing like 3 next week, and then we've got like another 1 or 2 the following week. So it's been a heavy sort of pitching period for us.
What is your typical lead time from like kind of a start to finish once you decide to pitch a company?
I would say from like inquiry to close is on average 2 to 3 months.
That's not too bad.
Yeah.
That's not too bad at all. Could be worse. Could be
Our
better.
longest has probably been about 9 months, I
Yeah.
reckon. Yeah.
I found that the higher the ticket, the longer the sales cycle is, but then the less churn. So
Yeah.
like it might take 6 months to land them, but you've got them for 2.5 years, 3 years.
Yeah. And it's because because the scope of work's so big,
Yeah,
to change and remove you to do something else
it's
is a
not even worth it.
huge amount of internal work. So, yeah.
It's more worth it for you to do an okay job.
We just need to, we still need to prove value for sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, just doing it like, all right, is better than them jumping around. But yeah, they do take a long time to land sometimes. Well, Jack, this has been fantastic. I really, I really enjoyed this a lot. If people want to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, thesocialshepherd.com. We have Social Shepherd YouTube channel as well, which we have our own podcast that we do, like a weekly podcast on all things social, digital, what's happening. We have a newsletter that goes out every Monday as well, if you want to keep in touch with what's going on in the social space. We send that out to like 10,000 people. And so, yeah, or myself, Jack Shepherd, on LinkedIn as well. You can find me.
Yeah, something that I realized that I think a lot of people don't grasp is that when you've got an agency that's as successful as yours, I sign up for those newsletters so I can swipe them. Like, like you're obviously good at what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like and like I'll sign up for like the email campaign or for the video campaign just so I can swipe them. Like,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you clearly know what you're doing.
I'm similar.
There it is.
Yeah. And we've had people that have referenced all those things in recruitment and pitching. I signed up to your newsletter like 6 months ago. So, we've sort of been nurturing them over that period. We've had people from, agencies in the local area to us that just sign up, and then they share it to all their other agency colleagues. And then eventually they're like, oh, I actually kind of want to work there and learn more about what they do. And then it's helped
Yeah.
us there as well. So, yeah,
Perfect.
huge benefits.
Back channel advertising.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Well, Jack, thanks so much. And thanks everyone for listening to Hack to the Future. And we'll talk to you next time. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Carl. Thanks, guys.